Of Automate Office Work. I'm your host, Justin, and today's topic is all about email. It's killing your productivity. And I'm joined today by a co host named Danny. Danny is like me, he's also a works in the area of law and he is interested in legal technology. So we decided to get together and have a lively conversation today. Danny, would you like to introduce yourself further?
Yes, I am here to destroy email. Sorry, that's a very formal introduction. I'm the email attachment you didn't ask for. I creep past your Mimecast filter and I dump a list of Confluence links into your lap, and then I auto reply and disappear into the night. But more seriously, I work in the weird scrub land of knowledge management. So that means I spend my days trying to corral people into sharing knowledge, preferably not in their inbox, which is akin to a doomsday bunker. But yeah, here we are trapped in email purgatory, pretending that this is a normal functioning way to do business. So I am here to discuss that with you and how we
All
can
right.
improve it.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, I did prepare an article about email, which you can find at automateofficework.com/email. It has a couple of the topics that we'll be going over, but there's so much more we can go into. Why email is productivity death, and we are misusing it. And we'll give tips on how to use it better. All right.
Thoughts?
By way of mentioning as well, this is a live event on LinkedIn every Friday. So we do have a live audience who can give comments. Possibly in later in the show, possibly we can invite more people to come on to a conversation with us. But we are also recording this for YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So anything I show on my screen, I will try to paint a picture with words. So anybody can just enjoy this content as audio only as well.
Excellent.
All right. So let's start talking about maybe not the technical part of email, but the culture of email. What is it that people do that is just so annoying in email? Danny, do you have some ideas? Or
Well, I'm guilty of about 80% of these errors of judgment. I will say, using it as a project management system, I was just mentioning before we started that I thought applying tags and folders to everything would operationalize my life, and it just made it complete chaos. That's on the receiving end. On the sending end, I'm probably adding to somebody else's bloated folders. So, yeah, guilty.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
so
the
that's
takeaway.
that's the number two on here, and I think that's your number one complaint. That I do have on here. It says 90% of emails belong in a project management system. So how
Agreed.
does a project management system differ from just straight up email garbage landfill?
Centralized place, right? Centralized knowledge hub. People know where to find things. They don't have to ask for the email from 2017 about some policy that nobody remembers.
But I like it when people come to me asking for an obscure email that's only in my email box from 8 years ago. It makes me feel special. It makes me feel valuable. Like
That's
I'm a
why
contributing human being.
I
No, you're saying
proud.
that everybody hates that about me?
No, I'm the same way. I want you to ask me about a photo I sent you in 2012. Yeah, I mean
But
chaos,
what happens when
especially.
that one guy leaves the company
Exactly.
and we don't have access to your inbox anymore?
Didn't he forward it to you? Yeah. Pretty much the 3 points that you wrote here are spot on. Um, and then I was sort of going through the traumatic, how do I say this? As a recovering paralegal, I've spent much time in many an Outlook inbox or Eudora Mail or whatever was been around for a while. And I
Wow.
think the bane of my existence would be the super long chain where lawyers in particular or paralegals are bickering about stuff, and then you have to kind of scroll down all the way back and like deep search to find one piece of information. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
pet
That's
peeve.
that's kind of a point of like there should be metadata
Hmm.
about a matter that's being discussed, and that metadata should be updated in a proper system, right? So you don't have to scroll through an entire conversation just to find out, okay, what is the metadata now that we've finally landed on, during negotiations?
I found, and I admitted to being guilty of this one, the thoughts question mark. So a poorly worded email does more damage than not sending the email in the first place. And I would couple that with really bad or nondescript subject lines. And I mentioned this particularly in the age of Gmail, where everything gets threaded. Yeah. So I there was an article a few years ago, I think it was HBR, where it was like how the military handles emails, and there's like 5 ways to categorize. It's like reply, urgent, whatever, and you just preface that way, and that automatically will kind of help streamline. And then on top of that, you actually say in the subject why you're writing.
I
Which
like
was a
this.
revolutionary concept. But
What do you expect the person to actually do that's receiving this email? Is it
Cry.
just to notify them so that they're aware?
So I started using info or heads up or something less tacky than that in brackets, which was good for just FYI emails. But then I realized those FYI emails don't need to be sent in the first place. So then we migrated at the last job into more of a using SharePoint for the announcements. And so SharePoint would send out an email just so people knew the information was sitting on SharePoint, which helped a little bit.
I love this. I love the idea that email should not be conveying information. It should be used as a notification so that you know to go to somewhere else where there's a permanent record of the information. And you can always go to that permanent record. It's just you're being nudged now if you'd like to go look at it.
Yep.
But that makes it so the data isn't just living in Outlook, because just leaving it in your inbox, that's data death. It needs to be shared permanently in a place where people can actually access it.
We had something at the last firm that I think was the best workaround at the time, which is, and I don't think it's unique to that firm, but it's you take the emails and you put them into the client matter folder, which is fine for client work. And so our client work side, time consuming, whatever, to do all that admin, but it was there. The problem was like with policy and anything that was non-billable, whatever work, which is a lot in patent law, it's just sitting like a mountain of chaos. Yeah, a landfill, a digital detritus, if you will. And yeah, God, I had so many folders. Yeah, God, that's it. That's my horror story, is the number of folders I set up. And then there were folders nested within folders, within folders, within folders, like a little nesting doll. And I could never find anything because the Outlook search hates me.
And so you're using the names of these folders essentially as metadata.
Yeah. And
when you could be using like a proper database system that actually has like metadata points that are not trees of folders.
The trees of folders. Oh, look, it's so eco.
You have to be so disciplined. Every branch of that tree of folders you go down needs to be structured the exact same way. And what happens if an email belongs in 2 different?
Oh, and then I would copy and duplicate the. Yeah, I was complete mess.
Oh, this is great.
I will say that I think this might be. I don't know if this is unique to the legal profession or if it's a particular workflow that attorneys prefer, but they are, at least in the patent firms I've been in, they don't want to pick up the phone, which is funny because that's usually the more efficient way to deal with things.
I have that as number 1 on here in this article.
Yeah, they won't pick up the phone. I mean, I'm an introvert. If I'm willing to pick up the phone, you can pick up the phone, is my thought. But so
how do phone conversations differ from like the email?
They get to the point, for one thing. And you can not worry about whatever nuance you need to pad in the email because you're actually talking to a human on the other end. You don't have to CC the world. You don't have to send an email that says "got it." Actually, I wrote these all out. I have like 25 or 50 things that must die that are email adjacent. I think what you said is right, though. If it takes longer to type than to talk, pick up the phone. Yeah.
I also try to remember like less is more. Like if you're writing multiple pages, nobody has time to read that, and they don't want to. And actually, like, why don't we just start typing in bullet points? Because that's what I'd rather read.
I am
a summary, not the whole novel.
I am a big advocate of bullet points, and perhaps to my own detriment, a little bit too much font. Because like, here's bold and underline, and end up looking like some disgruntled junior high schoolers anti-math manifesto the way I write these bullets. But in any case, that's a terrible description. I do think that bullets are great. I think that, okay, I'm going to quote ChatGPT here, not myself, because I asked ChatGPT what it thought, and it said reply all should be a war crime, which I thought was a bit extreme. Um,
You
but
said this right after saying, I like bullets.
yeah, exactly. See, this isn't about email; it's about me. So bizarre, like elusive, regime change sounding buzzwords notwithstanding. Yeah, reply all is the death of me. Oh, here's a good one that somebody told me, and it was actually in response to my email where I had TLDR at the top. And they said, if your email has a too long didn't read, just write a better email. And I thought, ouch, but also yes.
Or just send them the TLDR.
Yes.
You don't need the rest of the
You don't need the
stuff.
rest. Well, for context,
Obviously.
I will say, and this might also be an issue that comes up. I don't know if it's an email. Well, I guess it's an adjacent issue, is that I don't think any of us are ever taught. Well, I should say this more carefully. At least in law firms, on the support staff side, I'm not sure about the attorneys. We're never really taught to write well. It's just sort of you learn by mimicry, which is okay. But if you're mimicking somebody, yeah, I don't know. I've been in this field for 20 years. It's taken that long to learn how to say attach, please find in a streamlined manner.
I know lawyers like to say the word draft all the time instead of the word writing. I drafted you an email. Okay.
Like V1, V2, V3, V4.
In my world, working as an in-house lawyer in a corporation, a lot of the emails that I got and received, they were requests to actually go do something, right? And if a person, say like another department was reaching out to legal, or if legal was reaching out to another department like finance, asking them to go do something, a lot of times these emails are so unclear. I don't even know what I need to supply to finance to get them to do something. I don't even know who I need to email, right? So a lot of times it's just, oh, I know this one guy, or I met this guy 2 years ago. I should send this email to him. It's unclear. I have no idea what I want. I know the end goal. I have no idea what finance does or how to get to it, right? And I actually had an experience. One of my managers, I was in a one-to-one meeting with him one time, and he goes, oh yeah, I sent an email to finance 6 months ago. I wonder if they ever actually got around to doing my request. I should follow up with them. And I'm thinking, this is the worst use of email. Why are we doing this? And then being on the receiving end of this, you get a random email from some guy you saw 2 years ago. He's asking you to do, you don't even know what, and you have no idea who does it. So we're going to go on a treasure hunt around 20 different people, and there's going to be meetings, and you got to get the VP involved. Why is this not being moved forward?
Because we're closing the loop. What?
Why don't we just have a menu of the services that are available from a department? You go and you look at the menu, and maybe you click on it and there's like an intake form. Oh, you want this. Okay, here are the 5 data points that we need. And it gets recorded in a ticket system. So I get a ticket number also. Yep. I can even go see what the status is of my request. What a weird idea, right? Have you ever gotten these emails like weekly? Where are we with this?
Yes. In fact, I've been guilty of sending them. This is part confessional. I will say that the one thing that I was very impressed by at the last firm was that the IT department had set up Jira flawlessly, so that any IT related questions would be routed through a ticketing system.
That's just
it was great, but it's just the amount of grumbling from for everyone who was not on the IT side who didn't have to deal with these tickets would always be like, why can't we just put it in an email? And then I realized that there's so much potential education that needs to go into what we're talking about in a way that's non-threatening to, I don't know, like the email wasn't like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about life before email, and maybe I'm a typewriter fax kind of guy, but like, it's just
you remember those things?
I'm of a certain age, my dear. And having lived in Japan for a few years, fax machines are still very active there. They have amazing fax machines. I'll give them that. But that's a tangent. We're here not to talk about Japanese fax machines.
You know, there's a fax service that will convert
Email
faxes
to faxes?
to
Or
emails.
faxes to email.
Uh-huh.
eFax.
And then go in the other way around also. You can send an email to a service and it converts it to a fax, goes to somebody's machine.
We are in the future, clearly. Terminators
So,
have nothing on us.
I am a fan of allowing people to interact with systems in their preferred way.
You're nicer than me, but okay, I'll give you that.
I don't want there to be one size fits all for everybody, because there might be somebody who's, say, like blind or hard of hearing or
True.
really old, and they need some special help. I realize that.
Yep.
Let them use their fax machine and their landline.
I was gonna say dial up and some toucans.
I love you, Grandma.
Right? Respect.
Respect.
Send out carrier pigeons. I think it's also this. It's interesting because you've sort of, the way you and I have talked about this today, but also in the past, is just it's this process of trying to operationalize the way communication is done across the board. Email is one of the more glaring examples of kind of operational and communications problems. But it becomes like this chicken or egg thing where it's like, I don't know what came first, the problem or the email just made the problem worse. And so I've come to think, at least in the idealistic sense, that a better workflow would equal fewer emails, but maybe that's not practical for a growing organization. As much as I like the 6 rounds of, does this work for you? Following up, closing the loop.
I also think of the case where, let's say I'm in legal and I'm making thousands of these contracts, and each one has like a transaction in it, which needs to go to finance so that they're aware and so that they can put it on whatever they do, their spreadsheet or whatever, right? And by me emailing them every single time, that's a manual thing for me. And I have no idea what they're doing over there. But let's say they have a single person who all of this stuff is in their email box. So every time, let's say, an invoice comes in and finance wants to know, is there a contract to back this up? They have to ask a person who then has to go search Outlook, right? The better way is to get rid of all the emails. Like, why doesn't finance just give me access to a spreadsheet and I go and add a line on that spreadsheet, right? And they don't even need to be aware at the time of they need to be aware at the time they receive the invoice, which could be several months later, right? So you see how we don't need email at all. Like, email is just killing our productivity. We just need to imagine like how to actually work with data with intention.
That's the intention. You hit the nail on the head.
We don't want to work with intention.
No, because that requires a level of ownership and critical thinking that is kind of. I mean, I'm guilty of this as well. I'm not throwing anyone under the critical thinking zero bus, but yeah.
Oh, more violent.
Here we go. Right? It's like he said bullets. He said. I will preface this by saying, as a New Yorker, I sometimes talk in more colorful ways than is perhaps acceptable in other jurisdictions. So please, anybody who's listening to this or watching my expressions, understand that I am being melodramatic for the effect, but that ultimately what I'm trying to say in more polite terms is kill the email.
Kill the email. It's killing us.
It's circling back and cutting me with 1,000 unread messages.
We have seen the problem, and the problem is us.
Yeah, the problem is definitely me. I did find one funny. This is kind of tangential, but when I was prompting ChatGPT for most offensive email sins, it said, "Do not." Your autoresponder should not be a manifesto. And then it's in parentheses, nobody gives that you're on a digital detox. I'm like, oh, I feel triggered because I've actually done stuff like that. Like, nobody cares. Just say when you'll be back. I'm like, oh man. So yeah. So intention.
I had a manager who said you should never leave an out of office anyway. People should not know that you don't work sometimes. They should be under the illusion you work 24/7.
I was thinking someone told me their strategy was that they would occasionally say they're out of office when they're not, so they could actually get work done. I was like,
Ooh.
that's not a terrible idea.
So this reminds me of another tactic I've heard with email, and that is do not check your email all the time during work. Set aside like
That's right.
the first 10 minutes of the day, and then like the last 10 minutes of the day.
Which is fine until you're working as a paralegal for 3 attorneys who are all getting yelled at by their clients, right? So I tried to explain that to someone. I'm like, I'm not checking my email between 9 and 12, and they're like, but why? I'm like, because I don't want to, which is probably not the best justification. What I should have said is I'm time blocking and streamlining for peak efficiency and the betterment of the firm. Maybe we need better messaging around this whole idea. I think I need to lean a little less into manifesto style diatribes and more into, have we thought about how we can operationalize these communication channels better?
Yeah.
I can't believe I said that verbatim.
Yeah. And I think we need to do it with kindness when we're talking to other departments that we don't control.
Yes.
You need to show them the benefit that, look, if you put in just a little bit of effort, it's going to make it so I can help you, instead of going around on a treasure hunt for 2 weeks.
So something that came up today, which I thought was interesting. Just before this call, I was doing the legal tech walk here in New York, and I was talking to one of there's a few interns, which is awesome because you get this kind of fresh blood, new, oh God, again with the terminology, new. Sorry. I'm a lot of fun in corporate settings. They were saying how they were using ChatGPT to soften their emails and teach them how to write in kind of kinder or more professional ways. And I'm thinking, wait, I need that because if this is Exhibit A and how I communicate, you could see how there's some friction points.
Per my last email.
With the dog, with the Shiba Inu standing like that meme. Yeah, pretty much. But I do think there's the potential for this to become more accepted, I think. So I noticed there's a few legal tech platforms that really focus on the portal. Is that the term? The portal? The dashboard and portals, right? And they kind of take like the Jira model of how to process information. So I think things are shifting in that direction. It's just law firms in particular are not the fastest adopters.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think there's I am
So when I was in-house, I saw that there was this massive problem. Everything needs an ad hoc approval. Like whenever anything's negotiated, like, oh, they want to negotiate the finance terms. Oh, did you get finance's approval on that? Because yeah, it's in the contract, but that's not legal's.
yeah, exactly.
It's finance. Go to finance. And then they'd always be like, can you legal go get finances? And I'm like, no, I'm not your manager of everything, but it's in the contract. I don't care. So sometimes we would give in, I guess a lot of people do. And they would just send emails to finance, which who in finance do we even email? We didn't even know, which particular person, but.
That's okay. So that's another thing too. It's like you email, I've been guilty of this where I didn't do my due diligence to see who in accounting I should be emailing. So I emailed the entire team, which was ridiculous of me. And I apologize profusely for having done that multiple times because I'm impatient. So yeah, again, I'm the problem is the takeaway. But yeah, so this is a situation where in the accounting end, they get this email from a disgruntled paralegal adjacent knowledge hoarder and they go, what do we do with this? And so then there's a situation where it's not even who handles this, it's you'll do it, and it just sits. So yeah, anyways, this entire conversation has been me confessing to my digital detritus sins.
So we might decide like, oh, we need these 20 people from these various departments to give an approval, right?
Yep.
So, and the default is let's send an email. We'll email 20 people asking them to approve. And how do they approve? They reply all saying, I approve. So now you've got 20 steps times 20 people. That's 400 emails. We just
Me too. I approve. Okay.
And now in the end, I have this email chain. What am I going to do? I attach it to my project or my contract? No, I leave it in my email box. So there is no permanent record of this approval anywhere. And even if I do stick around in the company like 5 years later, when the auditor asks who approved this, all I can find is the email chain. And after a while, the attachments drop off, right?
Yep.
So any document or any images that I was asking them to review, we have no idea what the document was or what it said. All we see is people approved something.
And then
So what I built was I built an approvals platform. I did it in SharePoint. And
Okay.
it just asked like 2 questions. Who's approving this? And
Yep.
what are the documents? And they uploaded that and they submitted. It sent an email to each person. So they got one email asking them to come on. And then it would check every time they came and approved in SharePoint and logging their comments and things. It would check at the very end, the last person, is this the last person to give feedback? If they are, send an email to everybody, letting them know it's done. And the record was on SharePoint. We had the full screen of
Yep.
all their comments, and the files were there too. You could open the files. And also it automatically created a PDF of that screen. So then you could take that PDF and put it into any other system that needed to have that. And it had the URL to the page. So an auditor could now look at this. Oh, it's attached and it's in the system. Okay, I want to see the actual files. Oh, there's the URL. I can go see it. So yeah, we just.
I mean, have you found in your work, have you found that there has been a little less resistance over time to the solutions you're proposing, or is it still the same friction points like month after month?
I think it's very slow. It's as new generations come on. Like you were just talking about typewriters and fax machines. I'm sorry, those people are still around. They're still clinging to them.
My Smith Corona is amazing.
The next generation, it's all about email. They're clinging to their emails.
And one thing that came up during this tech walk today was they're saying with the interns, there was a situation somebody had where they had a new hire or a new intern who just never checked email because they didn't think about it. And I was like, that's fascinating. Actually, you have a generation coming in that isn't, they've already moved on to whatever. I don't know if they're checking WhatsApp or where they're getting their, or TikTok. Oh God, my God.
Messenger, Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Email is just one more platform.
Yeah.
Plus, I think email is kind of going the way of the dinosaur because that's where all the spam goes.
That's true.
Nobody emails me now, and anybody who does is just trying to scam me. It's kind of the same with receiving phone calls. Nobody calls me, and when they do, it's a scammer. I know.
I picked up my phone in like 5 years. I got yelled at by my parents because they're like, "Why don't you ever pick up the phone? You know who?" I'm like, "It's just a habit." Yeah. So I get it.
I also find that when people do call me, I feel like it's rude. Like, why didn't they give me a warning? Why didn't they ask me?
Why didn't they send me an email notifying me that they would call? Is that what you're asking for? Next time I'll email you first.
Yeah, it's all about etiquette.
Well, I'm probably not the one to be giving anyone advice on that, but that's just me.
I do have a tip I want to show in Outlook. And so I do have my screen for anybody who's only listening. I'm opening Outlook. Let's see if I can type the word Outlook to bring that up. Outlook.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I will maximize that. So if I open an email that I have received, let's imagine there's like 40 people on here, and it's just to make me aware that that this issue exists. I don't want to be involved in the 40 emails after this that are going to be in this chain, right? So what do? Do I just grit my teeth and bear it? Well, there is an option here. If I do reply all, and let's imagine again that there's like 40 people or 20 people on here. When you have the option to pop out an Outlook message and I'm going to pop it out so it has its own window. And now I get additional things in the top bar. And one of those is an options menu. And I go and I click on, there's like 3 dots underneath that to get even more commands. And one of them says direct replies to. I'm going to click on that. It opens up a little window, and it has a section for delivery options. It says have replies sent to, and then my name is in there by default. But if I take myself out and I put another person, it means when they click on reply all, I will not be included. But this does require you do have to send an actual email. So you would say, dear all, thank you for making me aware of this issue. I'm now removing myself from the conversation. Please reply all to this message next. And because if they reply all to a previous message, you're still going to be on that one. So it has to be this message that everybody replies all next. And this might be a cultural adjustment for people to be like, huh? You can do that? You can remove yourself? Oh, that's so rude. No, it's not. It's not rude, guys. We're going to go through a cultural transition where people can remove themselves. But you can also put in there, if you think that I am needed in the future, feel free to add me back in to the conversation. Okay. So I don't know if many people know about this option, but it exists and we can start using it.
I think that's a step in the right direction.
What is your reaction to this, Danny?
I need to have a little time with Outlook to try to wrangle it.
I can't believe that it's not.
It should be taught.
It should be an obvious feature. Another feature that I would like to see Outlook do is when you're sending an email, there should be some kind of a checkbox that says, I expect a reply from this message. Because just like my boss, sending that message and then it's out of sight, out of mind. Yep. And he has no expectation that they're going to reply back. There's nothing written down. There's no checklist. There's no list of these anywhere. Why not? This is such an easy feature that Outlook should put in.
I wonder why
of course, when I say happy birthday, I don't expect a reply back.
You don't want thanks?
No.
Reply all. No. Thanks, you too.
No. There are some other issues also that I see glaring in email, and that is there's a common request that your boss gives you. It's like, email everybody in this one department, or email all the interns or all the secretaries or all the engineers that are in, I don't know, intellectual property. Or there's a subset of a subset of a subset of people, and nobody knows who these people are because it's not written down anywhere. And so, and if I'm in a large department of like 500 people, that means I have to go through every single person and think, does this person match? Does this person? Does that person? And it could take about an hour just to make this list, right? So what do we do then the next month when we get the same exact request? We go to the previous email and we click reply all, even though people have changed, right? So I would like to see Outlook have a feature where you can put people in, like, categorize people.
Metadata. I thought they had something where maybe it was an IT had to swoop in to do it. I forgot where we had like, I guess it was lists. I forgot the terminology. But then anytime somebody would switch teams, it was complete chaos because you'd have to remove everything was manual. I remember that. And then I had to keep it tracked in some Excel spreadsheet. It was
automate office work. Yeah. So I did build this, by the way. I built a thing where it automatically it gets the org chart of an entire department. So it will update itself daily or weekly or whatever. So you've got the rows of these people and it's always updated. But when a new person arrives, we had an onboarding workflow that kicked on. and it would send an email to the person's manager and to the person, and it would invite both of them to go to this platform, and they could check the boxes that are appropriate for this person, right? So they would receive the proper emails. And then any emails that were sent through the system, we always had a footer at the bottom. It said, you are receiving this email because you match the characteristics of the people who should receive this. If you're receiving this accidentally, go to the platform and uncheck your boxes. You can
do it. You
can do it.
Yeah.
You can manually update this stuff.
Well, that sounds glorious. I'm just thinking how that.
But we never think about it. We just instruct. It's so easy. Just instruct the secretary to go do something. It should be so simple. It should only take them a minute.
I think one
No,
thing
it takes hours.
One interesting. This has just been my observation with the law firm life the past however many years. Is that even if you'll have it's interesting because there's like 2 points of friction or resistance, right? You have this sort of, well, okay, I'm making a sweeping generalization, but let's say career paralegal or someone who's done something this way for however many years, but then you also have leadership. Either perfect example is one firm I was at where you can't send links. Everything has to be an attachment. And there was never an explanation as to why. It was just, that's the way management does it. So you get this communication that I'm trying to tell, our paralegals. I'm like, well, stop sending attachments. I'm like, well, yeah, but the managing partner or whoever always sends links. And it's a communication issue across the board. It's a large, yeah. So
they're doing the complete worst way.
Yes.
Like if I was to send out, say, a Word document, and I wanted like 10 different people in different departments, lawyers, to all review and give me their different versions, their updates, that means I'm going to get like 10 or 20 versions of a Word document. I then have to go manually reconcile all of them into one. When if you just gave them a link to the document on the cloud, everybody's working in the same file, no reconciling needed. So yes.
Okay.
Please, everybody start email better.
If there are any attorneys listening to this, I want you to know every time you save your document to your desktop, an animated kitten dies. Maybe that's too graphic. What? There we go again. Back to poor kittens. But yeah, if I understand that these changes take time and effort, and it's easy for me to kind of come in and be like, we have to blow the whole system apart. But at least if there's an awareness of it, and I think that's something you're doing a very good job at getting people aware, and hopefully automating in the process.
Thank you. Because this is a big part of automation. It's just the simple, mundane stuff that nobody thinks about.
Exactly. There's the underlying. Yeah, it's funny because legal tech, right? And not just legal tech, but I think tech in general is always kind of like, oh, we'll just throw AI on it, throw a bandage on it, buy the newest thing. And like, that's fine, but you're not fixing the fundamental problems.
But AI can take these 3 bullet points and fluff it up into 3 pages that I can pretend I wrote. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be glorious. I'm going to be sending the best emails ever.
I would know nothing about that. I don't know what they're talking about.
Please. Yeah, I often bring up, there's a cartoon. What's his last name is Fisher, and his website is Marketunist. It's like Market and then Tunist, but there's only one.
Oh, with the okay.
Marketunist.com. And I don't want to show the actual cartoon up because if I do, you have to pay like licensing rights to this guy,
Gotcha.
which he completely deserves. Like these cartoons are amazing. But the first panel, it has a person at a computer screen and they're pointing to it. And there's a person behind them and they're explaining, look, AI can take this one bullet point and it can expand it into a full 3 pages that I can pretend I wrote to my boss. And then in the next panel, it has the boss sitting at their screen and they're pointing, explaining to a person. And they say, look, AI can take this 3 pages and reduce it into a single bullet point that I can pretend I read. So when I think about the best use of AI, it's not this. Like everybody's, please stop. We don't have to pretend. Like, yes, we have the greatest machine to spit out words that nobody wants to read. So please, if we can like think about this before, because the more you use AI just to fluff up stuff and like spit out words, you're putting a responsibility then on the other
the reader.
person to also use AI. Can we just get rid of the pretension? Can we just send bullet points to each other? And you don't even need AI.
Oh man, now I have to be the change I want to see. This has been very, very, very revealing.
Oh, thank
To
you.
any potential employers out there who are listening to this, understand that I am a fan of bullet points and polite emails, and that I can not fluff up the bullets. The messaging is what matters.
We will use tools appropriately,
Thank you. Yes.
including email. Email is also a tool, and it needs to be used appropriately with intent.
That is brilliant. Yeah.
That
Tools
kinda wraps
used
it
with
up.
intent. Yeah, that's wow. Okay. There you go. Buy our TED Talk. Buy our
All
TED
right.
Talk.
I think we can wrap it up then. We've
All
been
right, Justin, it's
going
been
for like 40,
awesome.
40 minutes.
Yes, and it's been therapeutic for me. Hopefully, for some listeners who haven't been traumatized by my rather macabre way of describing office procedures. I'm fun to
Well,
work with. Anyway,
I must say it's been a lot more fun and enjoyable for me to do this podcast, having another person to talk with. Instead
yay!
of talking into the void.
The void talks back. Thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it. Well, thank you very
Likewise.
much. And to everyone in the audience, please reach out. If you would like to come on and chat with us, have some fun, let me know in the comments or reach out to me at justin@automateofficework.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn.
And
All
check
right,
out his
everybody.
website. It's awesome. He's got a great
Do you,
website.
do you have anything that you would like to promote, Danny? Do you have
Um,
Instagram or something?
You can find me at Danny Katz Music. So my side thing is I sing and I play guitar, and I'm on Spotify. That has nothing to do with legal tech. So if you want to break from legal tech and want to listen to some folk pop, find me on
That's
Spotify.
cool. Danny Katz,
Danny Katz.
K-A-T-Z.
KATZ Music. There's like 2 other Danny Katz's, but you'll recognize this, the chrome dome, whatever.
For those listening to audio only.
Oh yeah, sorry.
it's
That
bald.
I do not have hair on my head, and that is all we need to know for today. Thank you. And
More
scene.
efficient that way.
Truth.
All right.
Justin has amazing hair. That's why he's saying this.
I have quite long hair, which I've decided to grow out.
I am there to support you on your hair growth journey. This is why they don't let me do copywriting. All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll sign off, and happy automating.
Take care.